that I want to try to maybe set expectations with audiences is like, what should people expect going into the film? So give us an idea of when people discover the King's Tide, what they should expect going into it.
Outside of, I think it can be a very magical experience, but I think unique is the best way I can kind of describe it. I think a lot of, we've kind of told every story there is, right? And this is certainly a film that's kind of grounded in relationships and family and community. But I think the aesthetic setting that kind of surrounds these people kind of makes it very special. And again, it's this kind of, not to be redundant, but this magical, immersive kind of experience.
It certainly is magical.
Yeah, definitely. It's very different, also very horror thriller, sort of dramatic.
Lots of tension in the film as well. But Alix, you play the main character, Isla, and one thing that I like to describe Isla as is this character kind of with superpowers. I wanted to know how you feel about playing a character with the powers that Isla has.
Yeah, well, it is my first part that has these abilities, and I think it's a really cool challenge that I got to experience of these powers and how I would do it without any of the special effects or CGI. And I mean, a lot of the scenes we all really had a lot of fun with.
Yeah. It is kind of like an origin story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it could be like she could be like the next X-woman.
No, I mean honestly, I kind of got that sense that if there was it would be interesting to have a sequel to this, but that just makes this movie so much even more interesting. Clayne, with your character, there's kind of this like moral grounding that this character has when it comes to a lot of the dilemmas that come up. I think he is a voice of reason that sometimes people don't listen to or don't really want to follow for their own interests. I was interested in knowing what you personally wanted to take away from this character when you picked up this role, and like what this character gave to you to take away from the film.
Yeah, I think if this was a horror film, I would have been the first one killed. Because it's usually the one that says don't go in there is the one that's going to end up, get this idiot out of the equation so that we can have the horror ensue. I think for me it was a great opportunity to, rarely do I get an opportunity to play a loving father. You know, a lot of times I'm kind of the heavy. So I saw that as exciting to kind of take on. And then to be honest, going back just to the material, it was all extremely unique in the story that we were telling. And I was certainly, there was a bit of hesitation just because I wasn't sure who was going to play Isla. And they actually sent me Alix's, her audition tape. And I auditioned you as well. You didn't know that?
Oh.
No, I just watched the tape and they go, she's incredible. And I saw the tape and I got it, right? And then once we met, we were able to kind of create this quick little bond, the two of us, because she's such a great actress and she comes in very grounded. You know, I think we've kind of overused, but it's quite true, the old soul kind of label for this young lady. But so for me to come in and play this dad and to have someone who was extremely prepared each and every day, it was just this freeing experience where the two of us were able to take these scenes that maybe it wasn't always on the page, but because we both had the same goals as it related to how we were going to structure this relationship, just certain looks and the way that we kind of, just putting my hand on her shoulder, the hope was that you understood that outside of his responsibilities to his community and to his wife and so forth, that the love he had for her was, which with any parent, right, is unlike anything else. It's that unconditional love that just can't be broken. So my goal was to make sure that was kind of the through line throughout this piece, regardless of the decisions he had to make that were quite difficult at times.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I think that all of that really sets the groundwork for how complicated this movie can be and the dilemmas that these characters all have to face. Alix, you're at a very interesting point in your career. Like you said, this is like your first time getting to have a character like this with powers. You're one of the main character of the film. Tell me more about how this movie fits in your career, considering like where you would like to go with that.
Well, I seeing this as a thriller, magical kind of piece. I love all of that sort of weirdly gore and all of the suspense and plot twists and everything. So I definitely want to go more into all of those dramatic pieces and all of those also warming pieces, and those amazing relationships that I get to make with my castmates and friends and all of the crew.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Do you guys have any fun on-set stories that you can think of?
The whole thing was fun. I mean, it was because you're isolated in this little tiny town in Newfoundland. You know, we actually were housed in Buena Vista, which I think is 2,000 people, if I'm not mistaken. And then the town of Keels, where the actual film takes place, where our set was, I think at the height is maybe 25 people that live there, and that's like at the height of summer, right? So it's extremely isolated, but we were surrounded by quite possibly the kindest, most beautiful people that I've ever experienced in one location, and that is across the board. Newfoundlanders are just special, and I think it's because they are kind of separated, they are kind of isolated on that big rock, and as a result, we felt at home, and it almost felt like we were in the 80s in this little tiny town. So, and because there wasn't a ton of distractions, we ate together, and we went and we would go to each other's homes and sit around the fires. And as a result of that bond that we all started to form, that translates on screen. So yes, did we have great times? We did, and not one specific. It was just each day was such a gift and a joy, whether it's the 30-minute drive into work and some of the most beautiful landscapes you've ever seen, but then once you get to location, it was extremely difficult to navigate for the crew. It's just the logistics of setting up cameras and lights. But again, when it's challenging, that brings everyone together, doesn't it? So again, it was kind of like summer camp in a lot of ways. Yeah.
And I mean, like Thanksgiving at Francis's house is so
Wow.
much fun.
Wow, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
It was also just so easy to connect with everybody. They were so easy, pros, natural, and I mean, especially we have a connection in show and in real life where everybody was just one big family.
Yeah, there was no ego.
Great.
Man, so a lot of times you show up and, sometimes you can have some jerks on set, right? And there just wasn't one on this one. And Francis being such a pro and someone who we've all seen in great films, and we kind of look up to this icon in a sense. And she was probably the most fun. She wanted to have all the parties at her house. She's going to buy the food. She was making soup. I mean, she brought cookies. She would bring homemade soups. She would make casseroles. Like, she was bringing this stuff to set to us. So
I wanted an invite to this. This
buddy,
sounds great.
it was just, I can't say it enough. A lot of times films can be extremely challenging. And it doesn't always mean that the film's going to be good or bad. I mean, sometimes when it's a lot of fun and it seems like summer camp, the movie can kind of stink. So I was kind of worried about this because I probably had the most fun I've ever had on a film with this one. But again, this guy, she's really good at what she does. And that when you have actors that are, as Alix was kind of saying, everybody's a pro, takes the pressure off of it. You just get to show up and have fun. And now let's just make it the best that it can be. And that's exciting.
I like hearing how much fun you guys had on the project, because it is kind of a serious movie. I can tell that your dynamics in the fun that you guys had while filming it translated in kind of an opposite way, where it still came off as very serious and really hit that thriller, almost horror kind of tone that it was hitting. I want to know, for those who see the movie, what do you think because I've seen it and I don't want to spoil anything about how it ends, but what do you think people should take away from the story?
I think the powerful aspect and how like you can do this, and especially all of the relationships and how caring everybody is, and just how warm it can be.
Yeah, I don't think there's, there's very little community nowadays, regardless of where you live. We're all kind of isolated with our technology and our homes, and I don't think COVID helped at all with that trend that was being pushed before. And this film, it has that feel where community is quite important and everyone relied on one another. So as it relates to what I want people to take away, I think it's just a unique, magical experience. And I can't say that about any other film I've been a part of. A lot of times they're just darker and heavier, and obviously a film can be light and comedic, but this was just, it was unusual. And I think having the underlining of Isla's powers and the responsibility that comes with that, because there were certain elements of like Lord of the Flies and how things can kind of break down once the communication starts to get lost, right, and fear sets in. I think are all things that people can prepare to experience with a pretty incredible ending, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One more question for you guys. With this world premiering here at TIFF today as of this recording, I just want to know what it means to you to have this particular film premiering here at the Toronto International Film Festival.
I am so proud of everyone that was on this project and everyone who helped out. I'm so happy that this special project gets to be seen by the world and respected for how beautiful it is.
Yeah, I think it's one thing, to have the opportunity to watch this film, not only with the people that you love, the people that work so hard to make the film. I think it's special that it's actually here in Canada, so that all of those individuals, because a lot of our crew came from Toronto, some of the cast came from Toronto, so having that accessibility for us all to kind of share that experience together, I think is wonderful. And then also just the fact that we do get to watch it on a large medium in the theaters, because I think film has a different impact when you're in the darkness and we're all sharing this experience together. But outside of that, there's not many festivals that have not truly gone completely corporate, and they don't have that intimacy. And what's really special about TIFF, and this is my first time at this festival specifically, you feel that the community that we were kind of talking about with the film, well, in Toronto itself, they truly embrace this festival and that they're proud to have it here. Sometimes some of the other festivals almost seems like the community feels a little put out that it's there and that everyone's kind of come in to infiltrate their town. And I feel it's just quite the opposite here. So it's such a warm welcoming of us kind of being here, and that's exciting.
I love that you mentioned that, because I think I've experienced that too with festivals that I've gone to. But this is a really great platform for films like this, and I am very happy that it's premiering here. And I want to congratulate you guys on your work that you did with the film, and I'm wishing the film and your careers the best.
Well, thank you so much, man.